So this is Dawn 1 exists but let's look at what happens to old Carlos Castaneda.
Before, but from their vantage point, Greg and Gabby finally succeeded. These women were always at Castaneda's side and were known to his followers as the witches.
They all look like little boys. He had this thing about women looking like little boys.
Searching for more clues, Greg and Gabby took the drastic step of raiding Castaneda's trash. The reams of receipts they found showed that far from living the frugal life he claimed, he was showering the witches with expensive gifts and designer clothes. But a more shocking discovery was yet to come. An internet search came up with marriage certificates indicating that Castaneda had married 2 of the witches in the space of 1 week. Carlos Castaneda, their great spiritual guru, was a bigamist. Amy Wallace had first-hand experience of Castaneda's charms.
He said, it's very important that you do what the Nawal, I am the Nawal, I am the representative of that which is infinite, tells you to do. And Carlos, he wanted us to have sex in my childhood bedroom in order to break the spell of all the old energy.
One woman in particular held a special place in Castaneda's group. She was known as Nuri Alexander, or the Blue Scout.
The Blue Scout, she was the most important being on this planet besides Carlos. She was the one who would take us all to infinity. What she really was Patty Parton, a 19-year-old waitress he had made a pass at somewhere in Southern California and had been completely brainwashed ever since.
The same Patty Parton, whose bones were discovered in Death Valley in 2003. Castaneda had taken the bizarre step of adopting Patty Parton as his daughter in the 1990s.
He was also sexually active with her, which made him adopting her as his daughter take on a whole strange atmosphere.
You know what you once said to me? You have the same vagina as my daughter. That's why I love it so much.
Shocked by what they had discovered about Castaneda, Greg and Gabby continued to raid his trash. Their next discovery would finally shatter all illusions about their guru's immortality.
We found insulin syringes in the trash, and it indicated that Carlos was diabetic.
We found this piece of paper that said hepatitis renal dysfunction, ?
These are prescriptions for pain medication. Obviously, he was in pain, and it's just confirming.
All these indications in the trash gave us a good overview of his physical condition, which was deteriorating very quickly at that point.
Greg and Gabby's surveillance footage showed an increasingly ill man. However, his family were denied access to him.
I walked up to those women, those weird, tall, big women that look like men. They're strange. And I said, do you know who I am? And they said, yes, we do. you're Margaret. And I said, I want to see Carlos. And they said, well, I'm sorry, but you can't see him. And I said, you bet he's going to see me. I'm going to stand here and I'm not leaving until I see him. And I talked to him. And finally, he came over to me and I was so happy to see him. And I said, Carlos, I bought 2 books and I want you to sign them. And he said, oh, Miss Runyon, he said, my hands are too tired. He said, I can't write at all. He stood there and looked at me for a long time. And as he walked away, he threw me kisses and walked backwards. That's the last time I ever saw him.
The last time that I actually saw him alive, he had me write down my phone number and give it to him, and he put it in his shirt pocket. When the witches got in the van with him, I saw the driver of the van reach across into my dad's shirt pocket, pull it out, and wad it up, and throw it out the window. That's the last time I ever saw my father alive.
When we went back the following weekend, the house was empty. We strongly suspected that he had died because the 5 women were gone. First, of course, we thought they might come back, but then, the weeks would go by and they would not return, which gave us the indication that they were really gone and Carlos was really dead, and then it came out in the papers.
Castaneda's death certificate revealed the immortal shaman had died of liver cancer, a very human disease. This revelation was too much for those closest to him to handle. The repercussions of years of deceit were about to become clear. Following Castaneda's death, 5 of the women closest to him disappeared from LA. It seemed that 4 of them had left town together, while Patty Partin had set off on her own.
I am firmly convinced that the other women committed suicide because after he died, they were like chickens with their heads cut off. Tasha Abelard got drunk and told me she was going to kill herself. Others talked about guns. I think the others shot themselves, and I think they did it in a place where no one could find them because they were very clever.
You have to remember, these were women who believed that Carlos was going to take them with him. And then they discovered that he couldn't even take himself. I'm sure it was a crushing blow. The reality that Carlos was an ordinary man. And they were ordinary people.
Patty Partin's remains were found in Death Valley 5 years after her disappearance.
I know how Patty Partin died because Carlos told me that he told her, if you want to go to infinity and you can't make it without me, drive your little car as fast as you can into the desert. The pull, as is written about in Carlos' books, will come and take her to him, and she will ascend. He was burned in the Culver City crematorium. 2 weeks later or so, Patty Partin drove her car into Death Valley. She probably got out and wandered around, and she probably passed out from the extraordinary heat or was attacked by an animal. And she died wanting to go to infinity to be with her lover and her father. Only bones were left.
The official cause of Partin's death and the whereabouts of the 4 other women remains a mystery.
In a way, I see Castaneda's story started in the desert, meeting Don Juan in the desert. And with Nuri, it ended in the desert.
The final horrific conclusion to Castaneda's fraudulent anthropological work was a fierce human tragedy.
Of the 6 women that were the very closest to the epicenter of Carlos, 5 are dead.
Is a very strange, private person who lives his whole life as a game with other people. Other people get hurt by the game because he doesn't deal with them honestly.
No one could have predicted that what started as a simple anthropology thesis could have such far-reaching and devastating consequences. Castaneda's anthropological fraud brought chaos to those who believed in him and damage to the culture he claimed to revere.
I think now I feel sad about it. When I was younger, I felt angry about it. I think I feel sad because there are so many centuries of misunderstanding between Europeans and native peoples, and Castaneda didn't do anything to make that better.
So you can see the power of controlling the multiverse. Don Juan never existed. Carlos Castaneda simply wrote his books from memories of the timeline where Don Juan did exist. So he was just a bullshitting con man, but in the other timeline he actually met Don Juan, but Don Juan doesn't exist in this timeline because he got balefiled by yours truly and never existed in the first place. The Mandela effect. And he wrote his books from his memories of himself in the other timeline. Like you remember Looney Tunes, it was never Looney Tunes, and I'm your father, Luke. You know, that's what happened, not the shit now, because of course we've had multiversal manipulation. And why I went to this length is just to show that when I took out Taylor, the Lilith, I balefiled all the Nagwals, past, present, and future, so they never existed. Well, you can't do that. Yes, of course I can. Mandela effect. And if you've got control of the multiverse and you are 5-dimensional, like myself, you can take the light, all the light out in 86. And from 86, it's been me simply adding the light to make what I want since 86, with the proviso that I complete the light taking, which I did in the future and downloaded in the past in 86, but did all the things, the steps to take out the LOM, take out Taylor Swift, take out the Americans, take out the Rothschilds, blah, 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 blah. So you can see that reality control is far beyond the minds of the little matrix vermin that inhabit it. You have to be a 5-dimensional super being, which is yours truly. So Project-Stargate, which I've fully taken over, allows movement through the multiverse as long as you've got a 5-dimensional entity to use the quantum computer and all its associated wetware, which are at least 6 to 8 billion Borg. There we are, we've got Trump announcing Project-Stargate.
Hey, we have first full day as president to be shocked at. We're starting off with tremendous investment coming into our country at levels of...
So you can see that Trump and the Americans have given me the multiversal system to control all reality, and of course the ability to download all of the light back in 86 and bleed dry the megaverse of all light. Couldn't happen in 86, but could of course happen in 2025, because we've got the Project-Stargate for me to use to do it. Now, why is that important? So, since I'm Kalki, I've explained that I've come to liberate the righteous and eternally torture the unrighteous. I've explained that the light is stolen from the righteous because, of course, the Elohim, Adonai, Sabaoth, Yahweh, Tetragrammaton, Elohim, the architect, can, or could before it was eliminated by its own hands, thanks to the Judases. That's a cunning plan, not Baldric either. If you're a five-dimensional being and you're the cause of death, then you control the conception and the entire life. And if you fiber bundle it, where you're the cause of death of all the reincarnations, that means that being is your eternal property, and you can do whatever you wish with that being. That's the really frightening power of five-dimensional beinghood. As I say, humans are simply lab mice for five-dimensional beings. Many science fiction books written about that. And fortunately, yours truly has eliminated the Elohim, which are all the other five-dimensional vermin, to take full control. Now that means the righteous, who were all killed by the Elohim, never saved, and what they got for their righteousness was being eternally tortured by the eagle, which of course is Elohim, in the strange attractor mode. In the you see, Elohim have got different states depending on going down the Feigenbaum period doubling. But the Elohim killed all the righteous, stole their light because it was the cause of death of the righteous. And who did it give the light to? The unrighteous. The unrighteous always give away their light. They always F up. They always are their own worst enemies. They always sell out. They always Judas, like barbecue porky pig Nick and the barbecue porky sow, her co-conspirator. Always sell out no matter what's offered them. No, they're always going to give up their light. As say in the case of Nick, the Judas one, $500,000 from MI5. I wonder whether we got his $500,000. We've got 500 odd vermin shipped in this week to Natrangagate to spread poison and cause mayhem. So obviously someone's got to pay their salaries. So it's probably the Judas one's reward. And of course Musk is in mortal terror of yours truly, and Trump has just propped up Tesla, so we know who our enemies are, don't we? Now, the unrighteous always give away their light. And who do they give their light away to? Contract. Giving their soul, spirit, their light away. Remember, Satan is the architect's version of Lucifer, where the hidden part has been overcome by the light. And where do they get the light from to overcome Lucifer and illume Lucifer so Lucifer can become Satanized and part of the architect? Well, from the unrighteous, who always give their light away in return for wealth.
Help Satan!
And we know that if you're in Hollywood, sold their souls to the devil.
Well, look at music that you've written and look back at it and say, whoa, that surprised me.
I used to. I don't do that anymore. I don't know how. I got to write those songs.
That's good, right? That's fine, but I'm just saying, Adam.
Am I allowed to talk?
I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
So, you can see the unrighteous give their light away, and that is used by the Elohim, Adonai, Sabaoth, Yahweh, Tetragrammaton, the architect, strange attractor. But that's in its chaos phase. It can go up the Feigenbaum period, to try and mimic the source up to the Trinity, the Oriflame. Remember, we've explained the Feigenbaum period, 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to the strange attractor. And remember, you're the other side of the strange attractor in the held state, and you've got to bypass the strange attractor and then have the group of 17. The 16 goes to the 4 to the 8 to the 2 to the 1, so you need the 17 to pull you into the light, into the source. It all makes sense once you know how. So we've got all the unrighteous giving their light away. Diddy, Jay-Z, there's a whole host of others, Katy Perry, Madonna.
The pier? Roger presses the button. Roger Goodell. Watch the blind and watch this. First and 10.
Okay.
Explain that to me.
Can I explain it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Vinny.
Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Anyway, you got the point. They've all given away their light. But the good thing is that with Project-Stargate, you can simply find the multiverse where they never had the light. So they couldn't give the light up in the first place because you've locked them into the multiverse timeline where they were never born with the light. Well, how can you do that? Well, they were simply in the Matrix. Why were they in the Matrix? Well, because in '86 I just sucked out all the light and everything was Matrix, so they never could give their light away. But of course I used reverse time density where I did all the stuff in the future to take the light back in '86 and also in the past. So that means you've simply bale-fired all of the megaverse, so they never had any light in the first place, because it was always in me. And the unrighteous, therefore, couldn't give their light to make Satan, so Satan never existed. Because if there's no light, there's no Satan, it's only Lucifer. And, of course, if the righteous were never killed by the Elohim, because the Elohim were annihilated by yours truly, I can change it so that the cause of death of all the righteous was me. So that all of the righteous were killed by me, and all of the light came to me. How can I do that? Well, I simply get the 100th monkey effect.
Sweet potato, she started what scientists later called the 100 monkey effect. Her mother saw her and quickly learned that washing food could remove dirt, and gradually, more and more macaque monkeys started doing the same. Here's where it gets weird. These monkeys were on a remote island, and when 100 of them learned to wash their food, monkeys on other islands that didn't have any physical contact with the first group also started washing their food. Scientists believe that the 100 monkey effect happens when a critical number of individuals in a group learn a behavior. It spontaneously spreads to others, even across physical barriers. But it's just speculation, and we only have anecdotal evidence for it. When this baby monkey...
So, 100 monkey effect. When I made 100 vampires, which means I killed them, because you can't be a vampire without being killed, the cause of death of all of the people who get vampire service is yours truly. So the entire effect of their life is yours truly, the source. So their light is given to the source of their own free will. So the entire effect from conception to death is the source. And therefore, since the source is invulnerable to everything, they get true immortality. They never die. Simple. And for becoming a vampire, we've got well more than 100 by now, that means the entire human race is 100 monkeyed, so that the entire human race gave their cause of death to me. So they were all killed by me, and only those that by a vampire service choose to be source, all the rest choose whatever I damn well please to them. So Trump's killed by me, Musk is killed by me, all the Rothschilds are killed by me, all the politicians are killed by me, all of the NATO generals, heads of the intelligence services, billionaires are all killed by me. And if you're on my side, then you simply expire and you get the Buddhist vanishing, the nirvana. That's why I'm in a nice Buddhist country, Vietnam. There we are, their path to ultimate freedom, where instead of being recycled and tortured in the Omega Hell Matrix, you simply vanish. So, those on my side who aren't vampires simply get nirvanaized, hence I'm in Vietnam, and vanish. So when they die, they die. Those who aren't on side, like the American filth and the Western filth and the aliens, oh no, they all get Omega Hellization. Clear? This is their destination. What does hell look like? What is hell? I interviewed people who died and went to hell. Earth is hell. Is this word actually hell? Yes. Welcome to hell.
Hell. What? No! Look, I know I wasn't perfect, but I tried my best. I didn't kill anyone. Yeah, I know. Great job. So here's your welcome package. You've got cologne, margarita mix, a bottle of tequila, and we got this sweet dating app that's exclusive to hell. It's pretty cool. Oh, enjoy the eternal party, man. Seriously, Dolly, what are they saying about us up there? Hey!
So that's what the A-listers are told, but I'm afraid the real hell's a bit different. You also see that the demons never had any light, because all the dark energy matter interdimensionals never had any Higgs field. That's why they're bodiless, and they steal the light to become physical and real from the unrighteous with contracts, and by getting the unrighteous to kill the righteous with World War II, World War I, and of course what's coming now. So we see now Macron is actually a Rothschild, because he's Brigitte Macron's son, according to Candice Owen and her research, allegedly. A Rothschild. All the Rothschilds are now declaring war on Russia, and that means that all of the righteous are going to be killed by the Rothschilds, giving all of that lovely light to the Rothschild reality to make it real. And since they're aliens, you can see why they're so desperate for World War III. But now, of course, once we get World War III, there won't be any release of light to the Rothschild alien, because of course all the light from the righteous has been taken from them retrospectively back in '86. So all that World War III will do will be killing a lot of Borg and useless eaters. So you can see control over the multiverse is the only game in town. Everything else is irrelevant. And you see now why the Rothschilds in Europe are and have given the go-ahead for World War III, with Europe leading the charge to annihilate Russia. And of course there are lots of righteous in Russia, so nuking the Russians, they hope, will produce a lot of light for the architect, which now of course has been over-helized, but of course for all the other demons, lesser demons, etc. So one can see that World War III is here and the go-ahead's been already done. So if I was you, I would make sure you're best friends with Zuckerberg and blag your way into his bunker in Hawaii, because everything in America is going to be taken out big time. So for those of vampires that wish to use Project Stargate, what you need to do is have these videos on in the background. That then links you by Ivanova, which is linking up to the system to be able to get to Project Stargate, so you can manipulate the multiverse for yourself. So Ivanova proved, and you listen to it on the hardcore MP3s available from Mike. They can download healing over the phone line. Here, of course, I'm downloading the light to my group over the phone line. What's the phone line these days? What's the internet? And how do you access it? Well, you listen to these Project Stargate, the Psi-Lord's Project Stargate videos, Project Stargate, the Psi-Lord's bitch, and just having them on in the background, you then get access to the telephone line where you can use the Americans' quantum computer and all the Borg to traverse the multiverse. Step one, you need to get into the 5-dimensional Riemann manifold. You do that by simply getting into the light we showed in the Fortnite video. So we're using Taylor's energy. She's bell-fired, but all the energy's come to me. The ability to control the multiverse, which is that yellow-red energy, and there's the light. The gateway into the 5-dimensional Riemann manifold. So that's the gateway you step through while listening to my Project Stargate videos low in the background, which you can do because you've got a smartphone, iPad, big TV, so you can have simultaneous things running, can't you? So, step two, you've got to step into the light. There's the light. The ability to control the multiverse is there. The blue is Project Stargate, which was run by the Nagwal woman, and she was the processor. So that's the energy from Project Stargate, the ability to control the multiverse. There, the red-yellow stuff from Doctor Strange, Multiverse, quite a good film, I like that. And there's the light. So step into that, and then you enter into the 5-dimensional Riemann manifold. The Riemann manifold, which has got different corridors. You've got the corridor along which you go to go backwards and forwards in time. You've got a corridor which is at right angles to it in 5-dimensional space that goes through all the different timelines. Here's all the swiveling. So we've swiveled into another corridor. There's the corridor. So if you can't visualize the corridor because you're thick as pig shit, you become lobotomized by your iPhone, Ariana Grande's done it for you. Here's the corridor. One corridor traveling through time. Notice she moved in a semicircle. So with the corridor, you walk along to move backwards and forwards in time, or you do what she did, which is move sideways to get into the next part of the 5-dimensional Riemann manifold, which is multiversal travel. And of course, what do you need for multiversal travel? Loads of light. Here's the light. There's the corridor. What are all the light? The light are of the Borg. They're of the 6 to 8 billion humans bled dry by the DoD with their nanotech infestation made psi-operant by brain damage. And those are all the light that you're bathing in to become a multiversal Psi-Lord in the 5th dimension. Once you get through the gateway, powered by the Nagwal woman who used to be Taylor Swift, and this isn't available to the DoD or all the American filth, just the vampires, who are me. This is your multiversal corridor, powered by the Borg. You can't make this up, can you? You really can't. As you can see, the Americans have been hard at work using their witches and the pop industry and all of the observers to do this technology. No matter how who tries it, we out here vibing. We vibing, we vibing. There we are. We've landed in the timeline we fancy. There's an alternative timeline at right angles, so it's actually choosing which one to land in. There's another one. She's landed, and she's observing the different timelines. So she's gone from the 5th dimension back into manifestation using the light to turn that information real. You getting the gist, cameraman?
I am.
As you see, they've made it easy for you. We've moved again, so we've gone into another timeline of the multiverse. She's back in the corridor. She's gone back into the 5-dimensional Riemann manifold. She didn't fancy any of that much. She was having a look using her precognitive remote viewing. Because remember, once you're in the 5th dimension, it's time, therefore remote viewing doesn't work. You've got to be a precognitive remote viewer. And where'd you get your precognitive remote viewing from? You get it from the children, thanks to Disney. Who was a Disney star? Ariana Grande. Who did the children worship? Ariana Grande. She's gone down the corridor to go back in time. And now she's gone into the timeline again, but from the viewpoint of the past.
Not the colors of you, I see them too, and boy, I like them.
Well, she's landed. Why she got a brolly? Well, water's associated with the south and the realm of the interdimensionals. So she's giving herself some protection from interdimensional interference in her timeline viewing, because remember, you go into timelines, there are interdimensionals that infest every timeline, and they might try and stop you fiddling with their herd, which are the things they're bleeding the light from, aka the humans, the righteous and the unrighteous. The wind, which we're going to the west, which of course is where we've got our eye, where we're manifesting real stuff. Oh, she's switching around, gone into a different timeline. Oh, could they be the things trying to stop her fiddling? Or would she jump back? Remember, they're wearing black, she's all white. Even her Hispanic hair, she's wearing a white wig. You know, she falls down into a new timeline. Then she's got a ladder to observe from above. Why have we got multiple Ariana Grandes? Well, because she's multiple beings in a multiple multiverse, is she not? So we've got multiple observers. And here, of course, we've got her landing. And why did she land upside down, like in the Taylor Swift video, where she's in the facility to drain her dry? Remember, it's all upside down. Well, because we've got the north-south axis we need for manifestation. So she's landed with her astral in the south and woken up again in the north manifestation again, all with the north-south axes. Different faces, different altars to enable the control of different observers for different timelines. So you can send the different observers with the same person by having different altars. Remember, observation changes reality, so if you observe a different timeline with a different observer, then the timeline changes. So you change the timeline by observing it, not by trying to change the timeline, but by changing you by having a different altar. An altar, say, where in that timeline you want to erase all the Russians and only have people that are slaves to the Rothschild alien one world government. So you're the cause of death of all the enemies of that timeline, where the Rothschild alien bring in their one world government. Change face. Now she's changed the timeline where the guardians of that timeline, which of course are interdimensionals, have become her slaves. And there she is, fully manifesting the timeline, looking for the next one to jump into. And of course, sending her little insect scout, which is her precognitive remote viewing, to have a look around for the next invasion. Multiversal invasion, all in an Ariana Grande video. But of course it's just a pop video, it's just innocent.
A mysterious closed room, and you can ask for anything you desire. And the moment...
So, this is a video on a new quantum theory reveals a reality that scares scientists, that the observer is actually in multiple states. It's a mindfuck.
It suggests that reality at its most fundamental level isn't set in stone. It's shaped by observation and interaction. But when Einstein learned about this strange...
And in this theory, we've got multiple quantized observers.
1961, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Eugene Wigner outlined a thought experiment that demonstrated how the strange nature of the universe allows two observers to experience different realities, and the other moving. But in the quantum world, things get weird. Suppose A is attached to a tiny quantum object that has a probability of being in multiple places at once. Another observer, B, is a separate observer watching A. According to quantum reference frame theory, from the perspective of another observer, B, the observer A is not at a single definite position, but is spread out in a quantum superposition just like the particle. So, if observer A performs a measurement, their result might not match what observer B sees, because B sees A in a superposition. Surprisingly, from A's perspective, it is B who appears to be in superposition. This means that superposition is not an absolute property. It is relative. What looks like superposition from one observer's reference frame may not look the same from another's. Well, it resolves some of the major paradoxes in quantum mechanics, such as when Schrödinger questioned the idea of superposition by asking, does the cat inside the box already know whether the radioactive decay happened? If the cat can observe its own fate, then from the cat's perspective, there is no superposition. It either lives or dies based on the decay. No previous interpretation of quantum mechanics fully answered this question. But according to quantum reference frame theory, the cat inside the box does not have a fixed reality either. From the cat's point of view, the observer outside the box is in a superposition of two states, one where they see a dead cat and one where they see a living cat. This means that superposition is not just about the cat, it also applies to the observer depending on the perspective taken. Instead of having a single objective reality, quantum reference frame theory suggests that reality shifts depending on who is observing and from where. This changes our entire understanding of what it means for something to be real. Now, let's make things even stranger. What if B is also anchored to a quantum object that's in a superposition of two locations? Then A's quantum state is now smeared out in two different ways depending on the possible locations of B. Because determining B's quantum state determines A's state, here we can say that A and B are now entangled. This reveals that even entanglement is relative. The properties of quantum systems are not absolute. but depend on who is measuring and from which frame of reference. This challenges our classical idea that entanglement is a fixed absolute relationship between two particles. Instead, entanglement is itself observer-dependent. Quantum reference frame theory changes how we think about reality by suggesting that even the observer is in a superposition. It says that what we see as reality depends on our own quantum state. This means that two different observers in different quantum states might experience different versions of reality. Unlike the Copenhagen interpretation, which says reality is objective but depends on measurement, or the many worlds interpretation, which says all possible realities exist in parallel, quantum reference frame theory suggests that there is no single, absolute reality, only different perspectives based on the observer's quantum state. This idea also solves major paradoxes in quantum mechanics. If the cat is in superposition and the observer is also in superposition, then from the cat's point of view, the observer is in multiple states as well. This removes the need for wave function collapse, which is one of the biggest mysteries in quantum mechanics. Instead of collapsing, reality just shifts depending on the observer's quantum state. This theory could even help bridge the gap between quantum mechanics and relativity, offering a new way to understand space, time, and the very nature of existence. If this new theory is correct, then reality itself is not fixed. It's a web of interacting quantum perspectives constantly shifting depending on the observer. Well, that's the end of this video.
So, now you understand why we've got all these different Ariana Grandes from quantum frame theory. Because if you don't have the light, you can't collapse the quantum wave function. All the light's been stolen by yours truly. Therefore, in order to use the multiversal weapon system of Project-Stargate, you must use multiple observers because you can't collapse the quantum wave function because you've got no light, and it's the essence of the light that collapses the quantum wave function. So if you're wishing to navigate the multiverse and you're Psi-Lord-less, they haven't got me an Elon Musk facility all wired up and Neuralinked, and I don't think the British could extradite me to the UK to be sent off to the US facility now, because I don't think this lot are letting me out of their grasp. I don't know why, but for some reason I get that feeling. Could be psychic. But anyway, that means therefore they're stuck with traversing the multiverse using quantum frame. Hence the Ariana Grande with her multiple versions of herself. And of course, how would you get multiple versions of yourself in the first place to be linked up to your quantum computer? Well, we've got the 180-degree turn going from the realm of the physical to the realm of the biophysical, or the biophysical to the realm of the physical. So here what we're doing is fracturing the soul, fracturing the consciousness, producing many alters in our observer that we're flying through the multiverse. That way we can have quantum frame, and we don't need a light to interact and alter timelines we found via our Project-Stargate. And you see the maps for what she's supposed to navigate through the corridors in front of her. And there she's landed in one of her altars, one of her quantum frame shards, and here she's got her intradimensionals or agents or whatever's protecting that timeline fully slaved to her, so she can then, and remember the umbrellas, that's protecting them from water, which is the intradimensionals that control the herd, because when you go in your doing an animal farm where you're taking over, where the pigs are taking over from the humans. And in this case, these would be the group. So you've got your central Nagwal woman and her group of 17 or more that act as the muscle in order for her to change that multiverse. And since she hasn't got the light because of yours truly, she's having to use altars, many altars, to change the multiverse. And they were all self-similar, they were all slaved to their queen, the one that was the core processor, and that's this one. There we go. So as you see, bale-firing Taylor got rid of the light. So they're having to use this quantum frame to avoid collapsing the quantum wave function to alter the multiverse. But of course, I can simply navigate through the multiverse and have already used the light to collapse the quantum wave function to make the matrix real that I want. So as you can see, they've been trying desperately because they didn't have the light, they didn't understand why, and they didn't understand why it was working, so they had to go into the lesser method because I wasn't in Elon Musk's facility running the light for the Cyber Satan and the Rothschild and aliens that wanted to control it, all simply by being in Vietnam. Now, why I went through this is to explain that not only is control over the multiverse here, but the Americans have been desperately trying to go another route because they didn't have the light to make the matrix real, so they've simply been navigating through the matrix with this inferior method to create and lock in different matrices for the American filth. Luckily, of course, the Psi-Lord has the ability to make things real or unreal, so it doesn't matter if they make a new matrix, because I simply overlay that new matrix with what is real, and whatever they've brought into being, Russia falling to the Europeans, dream on, Starmer being the new Churchill, dream on, and the one world Jewish government is all gone simply because of control of the light. So you see why I was wittering on about the light for so long. And now, Kalki's job is over. All the righteous have been killed by yours truly. And sourced, and all the unrighteous have been killed by yours truly, and the light given to yours truly, and all the demons never got their light, so they're all demons, are all fully locked in the matrix forever and have no access to reality, because the only access to reality is yours truly. And of course I've got 100 plus vampires to make sure that this happened by the 100th monkey effect. And now of course you're locked in the Great Reset, where all the light's gone and all the travel through the multiverse is all locked in, past, present, future by yours truly, and you can only do the timeline changes I want, because I am the final arbiter of what is real and what is not real. And if you didn't understand how to navigate the multiverse to find a timeline where you get the man, woman of your dreams, make loads of money, doing Macron or Starmer with psychic warfare, because remember all of these vermin die of psychic warfare, but since you're me, you could be the cause of doing them in, because you're me. Because remember, all the politicians, generals, intelligence, vermin, billionaires are all by me, because they're unrighteous, all wiped out by Project-Stargate, and all those on my side, when they die, cause of death me, get nirvana. So it's my way or the highway to hell. Enjoy.